Hi everyone, happy Friday. Gosh, I can't believe it's actually Friday already. This week seems like it's just flying by. I wanted to take a few minutes today and send you this video as we continue this week on this topic and the module on engaging others. I know just a day before yesterday I sent you all a brief survey I wanted you to complete simply on ranking your top 7 attributes in relationship to the Posner and Kausas research. I'm just waiting on a couple of those at the moment, and I'll aggregate those results, but please send those in to me as soon as possible for those of you who still have yet to complete them. Not that difficult a challenge. Don't overthink it. Just really interested in your kind of initial reaction on those particular traits that, from the traits that Posner and Kausas have kind of researched around and have gotten feedback around that are important. Just wanted to get a sense of your top group of those and relate that back to what their findings have been from their people, because there certainly are some that are more important from a followership perspective than others. But a second piece of research I wanted to touch on that really connects with a lot of what we're talking about this week is a piece of research that was relatively recently done by Google. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Google and who they are and what they do. I'm going to start with just a little bit of a backstory here. Sergey Brin and Larry Page, who started Google back in the 90s, and early on in the process, as you may be aware, worked very hard on hiring what they thought were, to the organization, some of the best and brightest people that they could find. Right? In fact, early on in the late 90s, when they had maybe 400 employees or so, a majority, if not all of those employees at that point, again, were highly intellectual, had high intellectual capacity. Almost everyone had an engineering degree as part of their titles. And again, they were hiring to a standard to kind of use the collective intelligence of the group to create the innovation and designs and code that would help them to differentiate their product. But back to the people side of this, engaging people, one of the interesting parts for them back then was, given the nature of the people, of both them as individuals and how intelligent they are, and the people that they'd hired at that point were, they were challenging the status quo about whether or not they believed that, hang on one second here, just trying to get up another piece of information to the side of me. They were challenging the fact that whether managers and leaders, in particular managers, made a difference in their business. Given that they're, again, given the intellectual capacity, how smart and brilliant and bright the organization and the people in it were, they felt like they could be almost self-leading, self-guiding, self-managing as an organization. So for a few months, they tried it out. Basically had everyone report to them as leaders of the organization directly, as opposed to having people with manager-related titles. Kind of interesting how that all worked out. Pretty shortly thereafter, they recognized within about 90 days it wasn't working. And the initial elements that were causing it not to work had, at that point, a lot less to do with leadership than it did to do with kind of process-related matters, getting expenses reports approved, core simple decisions that needed to be made. And at that point, it was interesting. This is now kind of in the late 90s, early 2000s. They decided what they would do to really validate this issue of whether managers really made a difference in their business. They decided to embark on a significant study with their organization. This is now about 2002, I believe. And what they did is they brought in some of the best and brightest data analysts as well as human relations people to survey the entire organization to get their feelings and opinions about elements of whether managers and leaders in the business mattered. And and if they mattered, what might be the reasons why they mattered in the organization. Again, remember the perspective they're coming from was they weren't sure that they did, and were challenging whether or not managers made a difference. Well, interesting now, fast forward. After much research by a lot of very capable people, focus groups and whatnot, they wound up proving just the opposite. They wound up really developing a set of research and findings that said, while managers and leaders really do make a difference in the business, and through that research, they identified 8 core traits that were essential for their leaders and managers to emulate in order to resonate and meet the expectations of the followership in the organization. So I'm just going to read a couple of them to you to give you a frame of reference, and I'll send this document to you because it's also important to give you a sense of what, as I describe one of these traits, what it means inside the Google organization. And by the way, they benchmark today every one of their managers to these 8 related benchmark items and attributes that they're looking for in a leader, and also do 360 reviews of their people and their managers to make sure they're meeting these 8 expectations from their followership. So first on the list is be a good coach. Kind of interesting, sounds kind of simple, but how important that is from a follower perspective that they have a leader and manager that's helping to develop them. Interesting enough, how they describe in the Google organization what being a good coach means is, here's an explanation of how they describe it. He or she caters to your skill set and personality with his or her guidance and feedback and pushes you to grow while still making you feel strongly supported. Really interesting. Second one on the list of 8 was empower the team and don't micromanage. Well, we've talked about that. Empowering, many of you have mentioned as part of your leadership equations, empowering people gives them the opportunity to develop and be autonomous and lead themselves through particular challenges, demonstrating a level of confidence and trust that you have in them to do the job. So empowering and not micromanaging is really important. Here's how they describe it in Google. I like the trust my manager gives me and my team. There's no micromanaging. Yet we know that he or she is there to answer our questions, guide us if need be. Sounds a lot like empowerment and really trusting the organization. The third item on this list is, on the Google list of the Google Oxygen 8, is express interest, concern for the team member's success, and personal well-being. Boy, it really sounds like making it about the people, not about you as the leader. Number 4 is be productive and results-oriented. Here's how they describe that one. It's interesting. He or she is relentless in removing obstacles on the team. He or she created a concept called push, where any decision that needs to get made gets made quickly. Meetings begin on time and end on time. Boy, that's a simple thing from a leadership and management perspective, but I'm sure many of you hold and manage and lead meetings, starting meeting on time, ending on time, sending out agendas in advance, and reading materials so that people are ready for meetings. Incredibly important to followership about how managers and leaders engage at that level to make the meetings as productive as possible. Great thing, lots of stuff that we could exchange on that topic. 5th item is be a good communicator. Well, as we talked about, communicating is about generating understanding on the part of who you're trying to communicate with. Here's how they describe it in their organization. My manager encourages an extremely open dialogue that permits us to share issues and concerns that in most organizations would be concealed. So this transparency and open communication and open dialogue and effective listening, really important part of the Google 8 for Google, the Google Oxygen 8. 6th item is help with career development. Here we are helping to develop people. We're investing in them. We're helping them to achieve what they see as their purpose and what they want to achieve in their career, a sense of autonomy and mastery in what they're accomplishing. Incredibly important for followers to want to engage with leaders and make that choice if they're investing and helping with them with their career development. 7th is have a vision. Here's how they describe that one. Her team is the only team I've been on at Google in which we've taken the time to collaboratively create a vision and then to share and and act on that vision with relevant teams. I felt part of an important effort. Boy, this is an interesting challenge. Probably one of the most challenging things most CEOs have and leaders in a business is cascading strategy and, importantly, vision to every level of the organization. In this case, Google's really empowering its managers and leaders to cascade that vision at a level that touches every employee in a way that connects to them and what they do. Here's number 8. It's interesting that, and by the way, this is in the order of importance to them from a manager expectation, a leader expectation perspective. Number 8 is use your technical skills to advise. Boy, as bright and brilliant and technically competent as this group is, technical skills are important, but interesting. Let me describe how they describe that in the organization. He or she has deep knowledge of our infrastructure and is a hands-on guy or gal willing to roll up their sleeves and get to the bottom of the problem. So it's not just about technical expertise, it's about being part of the team, rolling up your sleeves, helping to solve issues, being part of the solution, not part of the problem. Not telling people what to do, but engaging and leading from the front and leading as part of the team as well is very, positive to followers and wanting to engage with a leader. Just thought I'd just take a few minutes and share that with you. And I think and I'll send this this one pager to you that describes these Google 8 and how it's articulated in the Google environment. But take a few moments as you finish up ranking your top 7 in the Posner and Kouzes research. Relate these particular examples to these Google 8 to your top 7 in the Posner and Kouzes research and see the way they kind of connect together. I look forward to connecting back to you after I get all the results from all of you and here quickly on that on the Posner and Kouzes research this week. Hey, have a great Friday. Remember, engage quickly. Let's start getting into some of the discussions on engaging others and engaging people this week. I look forward to really some active discussion there, especially as we get into cultural and bias as well in the organization and how we overcome that as leaders. Again, have a great day. Talk to you later.